Hello friends and viewers, and welcome back. I know it's been, well, quite a while, but unfortunately life got a little busy there for a bit because things cost money and those things are bills. And so I had to kind of choose between, working a day job and doing this, and unfortunately this doesn't pay money, so I had to kind of rely on the day job. But now we're back, and back with something a little bit different. So this is Here's the Storm, for anybody who doesn't know. It's a new MOBA that's being released by Blizzard right now. It's in beta. And I'm joined today by my friend Jackson, who has decided to name himself Poopin' on You for his username. Not the classiest choice, but yeah, it's funny. And unfortunately, we recorded this a couple days ago, and my audio actually didn't work. It got corrupted, something happened, so I don't have any usable audio footage for this video, so I'm kind of doing a voiceover narration as we go. And so I'll be kind of explaining the nuances of the game and talking about the mechanics that are different. Um, and ironically, when we recorded this, we could not for the life of us get into a quick match. So we just kind of skipped to doing the practice and cooperative matches, which practice is, if you've ever played Call of Duty and you put the bots on recruit and you walk through it just brutally murdering everybody. The bots in this game make those bots look like veterans. This is it's a bot that still needs a lot of work in my opinion. The cooperative bots are a lot harder, but the practice ones they're literally just punching bags. So they will stand there and just take all kinds of punishment all day until you decide, I think I'm just going to kill this guy. And then they die. But yeah, so it was kind of a bit of a long wait until it reached a point where we just didn't feel like waiting anymore. And we skipped over to practice. And I'm not exactly sure how much longer that takes. Shouldn't be too much longer. And then we will get into the game. So I'm just going to shut up and put up some music. Maybe, depending on how much longer this takes. And actually I take it back because it looks like we're about to get into it. So yeah, let's do this thing. So, we get into a practice match at one of the many maps in Here's the Storm. That is one thing that's different is it has, I think, 6 maps at this point. All of them kind of the same idea as a lot of other MOBAs, 2 lanes, 3 lanes, jungle camps, but it all works just a little bit different. So this map, Blackheart's Bay, or as I repeatedly accidentally call it, Doubloon Lagoon, I don't know why, I'm insane, but um, basically every map has a mechanic that, when exploited, can cause the game to swing one way or the other very quickly. And this game, or in this map, the mechanic is there are doubloons. There are a couple treasure chests you can loot every so often. All the different jungle camps drop doubloons. You collect them and you hand them over to Blackheart at a specific location where you can be interrupted, or you can basically have a very significant problem. If there's anybody there from the enemy team, they can constantly interrupt you and keep you from turning in. But once you get the number of coins you need, then you uh, get a massive bombardment from his ship where he basically starts taking out structures for you. It's very quick and very powerful. And again, if you can dominate that for the majority of the game, you'll never have to push. He'll do it for you. So right now you'll notice in the game on the left-hand side of the screen there are a variety of options to choose from. Now in this game, unlike other MOBAs where you unlock abilities as you level up, this one you immediately start with everything other than your ultimate or your storm ability, whatever they call it. Now you'll see I have a few options here. Um, block incoming attacks, increase radius of my Q, reduce the cooldown of my blink, regeneration master, their little health globes they'll drop, I'll explain in a bit, increases health regen, or season markman, killing minions raises my attack power. Now I choose the cleave radius because, well, I like to have that little bit of extra reach with this character. He's kind of an assassin type. But as you see, these bots are just completely worthless. I'm standing there behind him in the middle of a minion wave. Nobody's attacking me. Nobody's attacking us. It's pretty dismal. So right there you'll see that little green globe I just picked up is a regen globe. Now every minion wave has one minion in the middle who's different than the rest who will drop one of those globes. Now each globe will regenerate just a small amount of health and mana, but if you can consistently get them, it will add up. Now some champions have abilities that they can pick where the more of those they get, the more it scales, and so they get, better mana regen on a base level or better health regen on a base level than just the little bit you get. So here you see that was one of the treasure chests that pops up every so often. There's two of them on the map at any given time. And there I turned in, and now Tychus is going to turn in his coins, and it's going to activate the bombardment from the ship. Also, you notice there are mounts, if you couldn't tell from my rainbow unicorn of death, which basically when it comes to moving around, you just pop it to help you get from point A to point B faster. Taking damage will cause it to disrupt, so you dismount. If you attack, you dismount. But when it comes to just getting across the map quickly, it's very good. So here's the bombardment. You can see I'm looking at the structures. So it'll target 3 structures, and then it will absolutely blow them to Kingdom Come. So it does 10 volleys, I believe, 10 or 12. And yes, let's go with 12 because that's actually a multiple of 3, which makes more sense. And it will bombard the different structures until they're destroyed, and then they'll move on to others until the ammunition's run out. Speaking of ammunition, another thing that's different in this is, if you notice, the towers, they have a health bar. Underneath that, they have a bunch of little circles. Now that is the tower's ammunition. So unlike games like League of Legends, where having a minion wave push up to your tower or pushing minions waves up to their tower is only good while the minions survive, in this game you can actually push a minion wave to the tower to help run the towers out of ammunition, in the hopes that when you continue to push, it'll be out of ammo, and you can actually stand there without minions and just destroy it as quickly as possible. But sometimes that's not the case, and so you got to fall back and just try to keep running minions into it. So here you see those 2 very large ogreish looking characters with the cannons are siege minions. Now the jungle in Heroes of the Storm is a little different. So when you go into the jungle, there are multiple camps. There's a bruiser camp, a siege camp, and a boss camp for the most part. Now the siege camp will be 2 big ogre-looking guys like that, and they will siege down the turrets from outside of turret range in order to, push the lanes really hard. Now you go into the jungle and you kill the camp, and then you stand in a little gold circle to claim it. Now if the enemy can show up and push you out of that circle and stand it themselves, it doesn't matter that you killed the minions, they will absolutely turn against you. But it's a good way to help add lane pressure in multiple lanes when you're not around. Now the siege camp, that was the siege camp. The bruiser camp, I should say, is a group of very, very tanky, healthy minions. There's 4 of them, but they are melee, so they have to get within range of the tower. But they can absorb much, much tower damage, and in doing so, tend to snowball a little bit and push the lanes rather far. But at the same token, they're very hard to beat in the camp itself. Lastly, there's the boss camp. Now that one is basically, I'm not going to call it like Baron or what is the name of the Dota boss? I can't remember all of a sudden, but for those of you that know the game, you know what I'm talking about. The large kind of end game boss you can fight to get a big boost. In this one, you don't get a boost. He just, again, fights for you, which is terrifying when you see that thing come trundling down the lane as this incredibly tanky character with an AoE stun. Trying to cut him down is a good, solid investment of at least 3 champions. It's a good way to, again, get a good, solid lane pressure and good push. So you can see my character's kind of an assassin-y, jump around, brutally murder, but not necessarily a lot of health. His Q is a cleave, where it's a kind of a spin move. His W, he throws out a singularity spike, which basically latches on to the first character it hits, and then detonates and slows after so much time. You'll also notice the level ups. I just got my ultimate ability, which allows me to get large amounts of movement speed and lifesteal and attack damage. It basically turns me into a super assassin for a good solid 6 or 7 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but in the heat of it, it actually is pretty effective. So you'll notice too, the way XP and levels work, there are no items, there's no gold, you don't have to last hit minions. There are some champions that actually benefit from that, but that's just, personal preference. You don't have to do it with every champion, and there's only a select few that are really important for doing that. Excuse me. But you'll also notice at the very top of the screen, there's a 7 and 11. Those are player levels. Now, you level as a team. Kills are shared. There's no real record of deaths, except at the very end when you want to look at stats, but even then, it's kind of doesn't really make too much of a difference. But at the top, we all share levels. So you'll notice we're, as a team, level 11. They're about to hit level 8. Level 10 is where you get your ultimate. Now, if you can get a level gain on an enemy team and get to level 10 first, that is when you want to really push your advantage, because your whole team will have their ultimate and their entire team will not. So that's one of the kind of the mid-game swings that can happen. But it's all about being in lane, soaking up experience points off of minions dying near you, getting camps, getting kills where you can, and really, really using the map mechanics to your advantage. So that's kind of a basic overview of Heroes of the Storm. I guess I will come back because we do 2 maps, so I will just kind of let the rest of this game play out. There's not much left to it. It's a pretty straightforward we destroyed them kind of match. So I will just kind of add some music and let you enjoy. Talk to you soon. Okay, so that was the first game. Like I said, as you can tell, the bots are more than a tad useless, but we tried again to get a quick match, and I switched over to Lily because, well, if we're going to do a quick match, I needed to be somebody who could actually support. Basically, Lily's job in its entirety is healer. And again, to reference another MOBA, for those of you that play League, she is basically the Soraka of this game, combined with the non-strategic value of the Sona face roll. It's a combination of just like walk into fight, press all the buttons, and heal everyone at all times forever. So she's another very easy champ to play, very fun, and definitely very much necessary to a team comp. Because at this point, kind of still early in the beta, it seems like the best strategy for winning games is to have a fairly tanky front line and at least one champion who can put out lots of healing. Because there's not a lot of ways to heal in this, and going back isn't very conducive to having a good, solid progressing game. So it's one of those where everybody wants to try to stay in the fight at all times. And to do that, you need to have somebody who can put out a significant amount of healing in a fairly short amount of time, or a good amount of healing consistently without having to worry about running out of mana. And Lily's like that. So here we switch over to cooperative because it's just like, you know what, heck with it. We're just going to play. Um, and we immediately get in, which shows you how many people are playing cooperative versus how many people are playing quick matches. So cooperative is 5 real people versus 5 bots, but the bots are a lot more difficult, quote-unquote, a lot more difficult to beat. And then we're playing on the Haunted Mines map. Now this one's interesting because it has 2 layers to it. The upper layer is a 2-lane map with a fairly small jungle and a fairly compact map in and of itself, with 2 areas where you can stand in them and they reveal a fairly large portion of the jungle. If you have it captured, and if not, then it does it for the other team, or nobody, depending on if you've captured it all. Every so often, it says the haunted mines will open, and now those open, and you go underground, and there are a handful of small minions in groups scattered throughout the area that you kill, and they drop skulls, and then you use those skulls. Once everybody has collected the total of 100, your golem comes to life and proceeds to rampage through the lane. So there's 100 skulls to fight over. There's also a boss golem down there to fight as well, who drops 30 skulls all by himself, which is a fairly significant portion and can help even it up. Because if somebody manages to get all 100, it's a pretty one-sided fight at that point. But even if you get 0, you still get a golem. It just doesn't last very long at all. So with this champion, the first ability I took was one that relies on those orbs I talked about previously, where the more orbs I pick up, the faster my mana regens. And my abilities is my Q, I throw out a healing pot, basically, that hits somebody and heals a portion of their health. My W, I summon a little flying dragon that has different effects depending on how I upgrade it. It can heal somebody every time they attack. It can just add bonus attack. It can do lots of things. And then my E basically sends out little whirlwinds that blind everybody they hit for a limited number of basic attacks. And here it was very confusing because everybody came to the top lane and nobody knew why. And so, of course, as I was typing, I got hit. But we all go in, and we kind of get stepped on a bit by the bots because I guess everybody's used to playing against, easy bots, and they're all not good. But either way, it's a pretty rough start to what goes on to be a fairly close game, despite the fact that it really shouldn't have been. But you can see my character is just throwing out healing pots like crazy. Again, early game, not that great, but it works. This is something that exists too that I find interesting. They're called healing fountains. Basically, instead of having to go all the way back to lane every 60 seconds, every 90 seconds, my apologies, you can go back to one of those and click on it, and it gives you a large portion of health and mana that will slowly regenerate over time. And it's one of those where it kind of keeps you in lane for a little bit longer, as opposed to making you, go back and forth like you do in League, because there's no reason to go back because there's no shop. The only reason to go back would be to heal, But if you can heal without that, then it allows you to stay in lane for a much longer period of time. Now, my team at this point, I guess they didn't understand we had 3 top the entire time, and they didn't necessarily want to come help, and Tychus was doing a really good job of dying over and over and over again. So, not much we could do. And there you see, it's the idea of being able to heal. Couldn't heal Tychus. I tried. But it's very invaluable in the long run. And I have to try to get these orbs, get those regen globes, because they're the only thing that's standing between me and absolutely no mana like I have right now. 0 mana. I actually do end up going back here in a second because the healing fountain was still on cooldown for me, and I just couldn't go back. But there you see the enemy team going into the mines, and I can't follow. But if you look on the map, you see there's the area we're at, and then underneath there's the mines with all those little purple faces on them. Now those represent all the groups of minions you have to kill, and so you see we got kind of pushed out before we even got into the mines, which means that we couldn't put up much of a fight once we got in there. So we had to go back and heal up before we could quickly beeline our way down there to be able to get back into the fight before the enemy got too many skulls. But as you can see, we have 8, they have 36. So they were already very much in the lead of us. And the bots, this is one where the cooperative bots have actually been designed really well, is in a fight where there's those skulls to fight over, they will always break off the fight to pick up the skulls. And that's something a lot of people playing against them haven't realized yet. So they'll continue to push for the fight, and in the process miss out on a large majority of the skulls. So this is the Grave Golem. That's the model for basically all the boss camps in the game. That very large kind of root and 3 skull looking thing. Now I tried to proc it to get into the fight, but the enemy bots had already run away at that point, so there was really no point. So all I did was really take a big hit for no reason. So we kind of tried to make our way back over. You can see it says 30 skulls remaining. That is all the skulls in the Grave Golem. The problem is there's still a large number of people, or the enemies can still make their way into the mines and take them from us. So we're trying to get them as much as we can, but there you see a Nubarak kind of sneak around in the top, float, and he's going to run in and try to grab the skulls, because that's what they do. We all end up getting stunned by the Grave Golem and trying to kill it, all while Anubarak runs in right there, grabs almost every skull he had dropped, and gets them uncontested. And then same thing here, we kill it, and they still get the majority of the skulls, as well as all of us. So at this point, the bots have kind of closed the gap, but our team is still real people, so they're doing a good job of keeping the pressure on. So you see our Grave Golems are about to spawn there, and I was basically saying, so we gotta stop their golem more than help our golem push, because it's one of those where their golem will push by itself a lot farther than ours will, and ours will stop no matter what because it's got so few skulls. But theirs could actually do some significant damage to our defenses if we don't try to stop it right away. So again, my character focuses entirely on healing, so as I level up, I leveled up the one that allowed me to throw more healing brews faster. Basically, the more often I do it, the less mana it costs, so I can keep everybody healthy. So basically right here, we're just trying to do as much damage to their defenses as possible before their Grave Golem pushes through. And their Grave Golem will ignore our minions and us and go directly for the structures, because that's what it's designed to do. So you got to watch out. It does a big stun there, which hits a lot of our team again, because I guess they haven't realized that when that green glowing circle pops up, you walk away for just a second, but it's enough to keep you alive. And we just try to keep pouring on the damage to their Grave Golem. But you notice our Golem is dying just as fast to less of their... We have all 5 of us hitting theirs. They have 2 up top hitting our Golem, and it's still dying just as fast. So you can see that the skulls really do make a large difference in the long run. So it dies there, which means the next time that there's a skull collection, it will start from that point. So that's one of the big scary things about that, is if you can get your Golem with a one good round to push all the way up to the Nexus, even if you don't get as many skulls the next round, it's starting at their base, which can make for a rather terrifying moment, all things considered. So at this point, we just kind of said, you know what, screw it. We're just going to keep pushing bot as hard as we can, because we've already knocked down this gate, so we can at least get this fort. Now the forts are spaced behind every gate, and these ones actually give you a lot of experience every time you kill one. So they're a lot harder to kill. They've got a lot more ammunition when pushing. They actually have a slowing effect when you try to run from them after you get hit. But again, very, very worthwhile sacrifice if to get those knocked out whenever possible, because otherwise, well, you just never level up. And as you can see right there, we got one, and it put us about half a level ahead of the enemy team. That kill will continue to push that advantage. And so we just keep on keeping on. Push it in, taking out minions, getting those globes, because they stack up for me so my mana stops running out. As you'll notice, it's been a while since my mana has gotten too low, even though I've been spamming all my abilities just the same. So you notice they got some siege giants up top, so I go to make a beeline for that. Accidentally mount poorly, so I waste the time to channel, and then I don't actually mount. So this is me grabbing one of those areas where it reveals some of the map. So if you look at the map, I stood on it. Now the fog of war is pushed back in an area around it. It'll let us see people trying to skirt through the jungle. So we go up, and we do what we can to take out these siege giants, because as you can see, they've already taken out our top towers and the top gate, which is not good. But the mines are going to open up, and it says, 16 seconds, 15 seconds. I go in a little early because I'm a little excited. Everybody follows. It's kind of awkward. Now, this is my ultimate. It is a large AoE heal. And when I say large, I mean like Janna-sized large. It's a huge area of effect. You can get a whole team in it during a team fight, and it will just, as long as nobody disrupts me, it will constantly fill health bars. And then at level 20, because the levels go up to 20 in this, there's a second upgrade to it where it basically allows me to double the amount of healing that it does. So it goes from, it can kind of keep everybody alive, to you cannot kill anyone ever, period. So as you can see on the map, I can see them coming in the mine, and I try to go up here and snag these real quick, dodging the abilities. I grabbed a few skulls, and now I'm running for my life, trying to get back down to my team. Basically, they're behind me, guys. They're behind me. Get them if you can. If not, don't get yourself killed, which doesn't go so very well. So I pop my healing. As you see, again, large area, trying to heal as much as possible, doing what I can, but still not quite enough to keep Tyrande alive. But Zagara, on the other hand, is screwed. So it's kind of one of those, we push people out of the mines, kill them as much as we can, try to keep the pressure on. We've gotten 53 of the skulls. There's still, 30-something remaining. There's the rest of the enemies that I found awkwardly with my face. But we get in there and we try to do some damage. And the idea at this point is to try to push them out of the mine so that we can clean up and get the Grave Golem and have an 80-something Golem versus their, 17-something to help us really push out that lane as hard as possible. So my team's getting back in the mines. So is their team, though. So it kind of turns into, it's going to be a, kite the Golem, fight the enemies, kind of try to balance best of both worlds. And so we push the Golem, and we kind of chase off Anubarak as much as possible. But unfortunately, the whole enemy team decides to show up, so it's very much becomes a very knockdown, drag-out fight. But I've got my ultimate up again, so I can heal. And I'm trying to run around to keep everybody alive, but it's just not quite going well. And again, you see, there were skulls available, and the enemy team made a beeline for them. Like, unforgivingly stole 6 of those skulls. And now we're still, again, we're trying to chip down the Golem, but the enemy team's there now fighting it, and again, grabbing all of the skulls before we can get them. So it went from us having like an 80 to us now only being up by about 20 skulls. But the trade-off is we've gotten a lot of kills. So as long as we can keep getting the kills to balance out all the skulls we're losing, the levels will at least be forgiving. And then Tyrande comes in trying to kill me. But it's a game of, you got to really watch out for the team fights. You got to know when to engage, when to disengage, when to run, when to press your advantage. Like any MOBA game, but this one specifically, it seems, focuses a lot on the actual team fight itself, which I really appreciate. It makes it a very fun, very fast-paced game to play. And it definitely helps to mix it up a little bit from the usual MOBA experience, and I really appreciate it. So, I believe that is more than enough of me talking, and then some. So I'm going to kick it back over to music, and I will be back for the finale. there you go. Thanks to the gods of victory and the haunted minds, we managed to pull this one out. Not that it was too hard, because let's face it, cooperative is a joke, but hey, we'll take what victory we can. That being said, hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully next time the audio won't, well, crap out on me, and we can actually have the game audio and the voice audio between me and Jackson up, so that you can actually be more immersed in the game. I apologize that we had to do the narration thing, but hopefully, again, next time it should run a lot more smoothly. This was our first cast together, and it had some bumps, but you know, it was a really fun time, went really well, and there's going to be a lot more videos from us in the future. So that being said, this has been Hot Shots with Jammin' Gamer and Poopin' on You. See you guys next time.